Thank you for the presentation. It's a really pleasure to be here, and I hope to show you 30 minutes useful for your Spanish deployment. First of all, I'm going to explain why this title, the Spain is different. Perhaps you have heard specific things from Spain, like our special lunchtime, the meaning of a strange word like tapas, or the great gastronomy. And everything is true, and even with Spanish localization, we can find other functionalities, maybe with a great variety if you compare with other European countries. So the next 30 minutes, I'm going to explain the key points that we can find if you have to deploy a Spanish rollout. So first of all, my name is Antonio Gilaber. I am the founder of Axasure. I started up this company 5 years ago. This year, maybe we are going to be more or less 40 people specializing in Dynamics 365 platform and Power Platform, with included finance and operation, and of course customer engagement. And I'm also studied 10 years ago El Rincón Dynamics, a Spanish community. I think we are roughly 6,000 users. It's true that all the content in this website is in Spanish. I thought 10 years ago that we didn't have any resource in our language. So for this reason, we started with this initiative, and right now it's working very well, and you are really welcome if you can understand our language. So what we are going to see today, we have done the different Spanish rollout with different subsidiaries in Europe, and one common question with the different CTOs and CFOs is why we need to post the transaction with one specific chart of accounts, and we can use typical global chart of account like GAAP or something like that. The main objective to use the Spanish COA, the Spanish chart of account, is because we need to present specific official reports to our government. But normally the main question is, but it's mandatory to use a Spanish chart of account, or you can use global chart of account and create this reporting in your local requirements? And the answer is that it's not mandatory, but it's recommended. I'm going to explain during the next slide. We are going to see how formats we need to use related to mandatory official reports, what it means balance, official profit and loss, and other specific names, sumas y saldos. It's like trial balance. The next point, what we are going to see, we take a look in the system with sales item groups and item groups. But in my opinion, I'm going to explain specific points that you have to take in account if you configure VAT, Spanish VAT configuration. One of them is the intra-community scenario, the intra-community business case. Other point is SIPA. Here, it's true that it's really easy because it's like other countries. The only thing that you have to take in account is to download the last electronic reporting version. The next point is the most difficult point, because it's true that here you are going to find a lot of issues. Okay, SII in Spanish, or ISI in English, Immediate Supply Information, is a new VAT management system that it was born in 2017, where taxpayers subject to the SII must send details of their billing records within 4 days. Okay, so in telematic way. So this point, I'm going to explain the key points, the main points, in order to show you what you have to review. The last 2 points, it's not related to our localization, but I think it's really useful if you have to deploy in Spain. It's about ban reconciliation, the advanced ban reconciliation, because as you know, we can import specific statements like MT9040, but in Spain we have a special format that we are going to show you. And if you are going to deploy expense management, it's not mandatory for the localization, but here in Axasure we have our own product in order to sign the picture, and this way you can throw out the paper, and it's of course more comfortable for the deployment. So let's start with the first point, the Spanish chart of account. And the question is the Spanish chart of account mandatory? Well, here there are two different ways in order to plan the Spanish rollouts, because the first question was related if you have your bookkeeping inside in our country or you have your bookkeeping in other country. I found two scenarios in my experience, so you can do whatever you need. I mean, is it possible to post transactions in your global chart of account and after that to create a management reporter with a specific financial dimension with the local chart of account? The answer is yes. Is it possible to post the transaction with the local chart of account and after that to consolidate with the global chart of account? The answer is yes. Why? Well, the best way is to create a specific financial dimension depending on what you want to do. I'm going to pass to the application to explain better this scenario. Here in General Ledger, if we go to main accounts, well, by the way, I haven't talked anything about my home page, this one. I didn't have enough space here to specify Carolina Marin or Ricky Rubio or Marc Gasol, but we have a really nice sportmen and sportwomen. So again, about chart of accounts, if we want, for example, this is you can find here totals that you don't post transaction, and here is where you can create transaction as an auxiliary ledgers. For each of them, you can specify here the possibility, if you go to legal entity overrides, per each specific company ID, you can create a specific default dimensions. If you have one default dimension with fixed value, and specify here which one do you want to have for this local chart of account, this way is really easy to cover our official reporting. In this way, for example, if you have the financial dimension for the global, it's because you are going to consolidate with this one. In the other case, if you have the global here and you have the local here, what you have to do is when you have the row definition, when you create a different row definition, you need to filter by financial dimension and not for the ledger specified here. So we have both possibilities, and if we pass to the next slide, I'm going to explain one specific official reports. Some of them, the most common, are official balance, the profit and loss, and this one is the trial balance, sumas y saldos in Spanish. You can see here I've created these slides, and this one is in English. This is the structure that you have to respect to our government. It's true, but our government doesn't accept to have this format in English. They prefer to have in Spanish. They prefer not. I think it's mandatory to present in Spanish. And how we can cover this? Well, this is out-of-the-box functionality. I have here row definitions. I'm going to open in English just for your understanding. And we can see here, for example, this is row definitions. And just only in order to see this structure, you have to specify asset, non-current asset, with this split: current asset, deferred tax assets, trade and other receivables, etc. If we go to profit and loss, it's more or less the same, but the profit and loss is related to expense and incomes. This is in Spanish, and for understanding better the structure here is in English. Okay, but this one, it's possible to do it by main account or either with the other point that I've explained it, by financial dimension. Okay, the result, if we go directly to the application, I'm going to open here General Ledger. If we go directly to financial reports, I have all of this. For example, this one in English, I can see the result, and the result is this one. And this is the report that you have to present to our legal, our government. Okay, so let's continue with the next slide, and it's related to a special VAT configuration. Well, this slide is related to intra-community VAT, but before this, I'd like again to access to our system, to the tax module, and here you can find the same structure like other countries. In our country, for example, for item sales tax group, the normal way is to have 4 different levels: exempt for 0%, normal for 21%, reduced for 10%, and super reduced for the 4%. Okay, the gross, or the mix between item sales tax code and sales tax groups. In the sales tax group, you can find purchasing, selling, even with withholding tax that we are going to talk about right now. Purchasing national, intra-community, and after that, the normal sales tax codes. We have all of them. Okay, so explaining this one, it's true that here in accounts payable parameters, I'm going to explain this one because I remember in one international project we had different doubts with this field, intra-community VAT. This check must be enabled if you want to create a mix between plus and minus sales tax codes in the same invoice when you are purchasing in intra-community countries. You are an intra-community country when you are inside a protocol named VS, and this way we have an agreement between European countries where we don't pay taxes because we can find plus 21 and minus 21. How the system do this game, this play, with this check and with this one? If we go into the sales tax groups, this is for the purchasing intra-community, and you can find here, for example, this is purchasing for selling and purchasing. Sorry, this is for positive and negative. And the negative, it's important to check this field, intra-community VAT. This way, when you are purchasing intra-community in intra-community scenarios, the system is going to take this one, this sales tax codes, and this other. So as you can imagine, minus 21 and plus 21, the result always is 0. You are going to pay the invoice in theory without taxes, but it's important to post these sales tax codes in order to present the fiscal reports. Okay, this is one specific for our country. I'm going to talk about right now, this is again the possibility to do this one. Yes, now we are going to talk about withholding tax. There are many occasions that the people use this functionality, and it's perfectly fine to use this functionality, withholding tax codes and withholding tax groups. It's not mandatory to use in the way that we are going to explain, but it's our recommendation. In Spain, we have this entity, Spanish VAT Books. The Spanish VAT Books is a functionality where you can specify per each book which sales tax codes do you want to look for in a specific time. And our recommendation is not to use withholding tax codes and to specify all the withholding tax codes inside sales tax codes, because this way we can explode Spanish VAT books. You can create, for example, this is for professionals, and you can specify here all the sales tax codes that they are withholding tax. And this way, if you post this Spanish VAT book, you can find very easy, and you can look for very easy all the sales tax codes that you need to present in one specific time. So this is our recommendation if you have a Spanish rollout. And again, the Spanish VAT books has, this is for the configuration. As you can see, it's very easy. This is the description, and here the sales tax code that you need to present. And this is the declaration. The declaration has a specific possibility to export to AXI file. This way, for the name is IVA in Spain, and you can export this file and import in our government. This part it doesn't, or it's not necessary if you have to present SII or immediate supply information. This is for small and medium companies that they invoice less than 6 million. Okay, I think this explains it. And the next one, SIPA. Yeah, this one I'm not going to explain how to create a payment proposal or how to generate a file from the payment journal, because it's the same like other countries. But it's true, you need to have the last version about credit transfer and about direct debit, credit transfer for accounts payable, direct debit for accounts receivable, and to download from electronic reporting. And this way, when you generate the file, the only thing that you need is to configure the methods of payment. The methods of payment, if you go specific to, in this case, account receivable, you need to enable the field require mandate. Of course, an electronic payment, to enable direct debit, and enable generic electronic export format. After that, what you have to do after the import with the electronic reporting is to specify here the export format configuration. This way, when you create a payment proposal, it's possible to generate the XML file and to upload to your bank account. Okay, this is the way. And I think if we want to see directly in the system, it's you can't find any different if you compare with other country. Okay, this is one of them. You can select SIPA direct debit for this reason DD, and this is the setting that we have done to use it. Okay. Well, the next point, as I've said in the introduction, is the more difficult point. This is the SII. Okay. In English is ISI, but in Spanish is SII. For this reason, you know for the Spanish meaning. First step that you have to do, please, if you go to LCS, configure an alert in order to understand if you are in the last version. Extremely important, because the law is alive and this VAT management system is alive. They are changing the government requirements. Microsoft covers these changes, and we need to download and to upload in the system. Okay, so it's extremely important to have the last version. You can find a lot of issues, and the problem has been that you didn't have the last version installed. Okay, so you can download the SII import model mapping. You can download the customer payment format ES, intra-community, all this one and all this one. Okay. After that, there is a specific data package created by Microsoft in order to enhance the timing if you want to configure this functionality. First of all, you need to download the last data package. And this data package, when you go to data management and import the process, you are going to have all the entities that you can see here: web service setting, electronic message item types, all this one. Okay, so again, extremely important to do this task before anything. Here you can find registration ID. It's quite normal. I've been working with AX for the last 15 years, and always we have used tax VAT exempt number. And right now, with the last version, we had registration ID. The registration ID was fantastic in order to cover residence certificate, passport, VAT number, and it's important to configure properly before starting with SII. What is residence certificate, what is passport, or what is VAT ID. You have to go to financial reasons. Financial reasons, you can find in General Ledger the configuration, and you need to specify per each code. For example, F2, the name in Spanish is like simplified invoice, factura simplificada, and you need to specify invoice type. It's extremely important to specify invoice type, this column, and the SII code description. Where you can find this description, you can find here F2, F5, F6, R1, R2, R3, R4, but all this information is published by Microsoft. Electronic message. You can find all these tables, this form, and should be filled by the data package. So the only thing that we have to do is to review that you have all the information properly filled. Next step, web service configuration. Here, as you are going to upload invoices to our legal organization, our government, we need to sign this operation. And the way to have this signature, it's by the installation about individual certificate in Azure. You can find this URL, maintain Azure Key Vault storage, and you can do all the steps in order to have this configuration properly done. You need to enable certificates, use Advanced Certificate Store to yes, and to follow the steps. After that, what you need to do is to setting up Azure Key Vault client. If you go directly to the Key Vault parameters, here you have to specify name, description, and the secret type. Everything is explained in this point. I think it's not important to follow right now because it's something outside from Dynamics. It's in Azure. After that, we need to continue with the web service configuration. First of all, to assign certificate per each action. Okay. You have all these actions, and per each action, you need to specify the Key Vault certificate that you have configured previously. Other action is to assign format model. Okay. For each action, you have here format mapping and message item type. It's important that to follow this table. Per each action, generate message, CI, VI, IC, CP, or VP. There are a specific format model per each one, as you can see here. So do double check in order to be sure that you follow this rule. Electronic message schema. What it means? Well, this table, as you know, the thing is to send details of their billing records within 4 days via online filling on the tax agency website. But it's not easy. because you need to have all these steps. First, generate message item. Next, evaluation fields. After, generate message ID per each action. And the last, to send message. You need to generate the message and to send the message, okay? So here in this table, you can find the natural order that you need to respect. How we can do this process? Well, first of all, you need to go to Run Processing in electronic message item. You need to click Run Processing. Run Processing, you have to select Processing SII, the action, and you need to specify each action with the same order that we have seen before. Per each action, you can identify additional fields and message item types. With this action, what we can do or what we can get, you get most of the invoice information, most of them, but not everything, because for receiving everything you need to run the second step, evaluation fields. With evaluation fields, you can have registration number with ID type, with country code, and everything that you need for presenting the invoice information. After that, other point, generate message, and you need to generate message per each business case, per invoices, per payments, per intra-community invoices, vendor invoices, or vendor payments. You have to do these actions one by one. Of course, when you generate message, you are going to have here, I don't know if we can see here, but in the clip, we are going to have a number, and the number means that we have a field attached to this record. This field is the XML, and we can check, even we can edit if we need it. Okay. Next step, let me check. After generate, you have to send customer invoices, payment, intra-community. It's necessary to do one by one. Well, the answer is not, because you can specify a batch processing and to program one specific action per other. The last point to finish, well, related to SII, I think we can have explain with more detail. It's difficult. You have to follow all the steps, but I hope at least to have covered the key points. And the last points are related to bank reconciliation. As you know, if you have worked with advanced bank reconciliation, you can find MT 9040, ISO 222, or VAI 22. These specific formats are perfectly covered by Microsoft. But again, Spain is different. We have our own format. The name is Norma 4343 Norm. And if you're interested to have this format, we also have in our company. So feel free if you have any question about this format. And the last point is related to expense management module. If you need to, or you are using this module and you want to release the paper or the different tickets or taxis or lunch, we have developed a service where with the picture we send the picture to a legal organization, and we receive a signature where you can delete and remove the paper. So this way you can enhance the process and finally not to have a risk in order to lose the physical document. So I think I'm on time, 30 minutes. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, this is my email. This is my telephone. Of course, my website, my community is open for everyone. And it's been a really pleasure to be here, Jolie.